Welcome, loyal fans. After the Manufacturers' Cup, we are now back with a total of 6 races for the Nations Cup. Sadly, we still have to make do without Matt Armstrong for now. No news on his return to being able to report on races for now. There are some nice tributes to him in today's livery though, so in spirit he is with us for this race. As you may have seen in the images by now, the track to race on is Spa-Francorchamps. And for this round, the car of choice is the Gran Turismo F3500B. This is a fictional car based on the Formula One cars from the 80s and 90s, so we expect to see some nice tribute liveries from cars and drivers of that era on the grid. Qualifying lasts for 6 minutes, which should allow for 2 flying laps. The subsequent race will last for a total of 15 laps. This might not seem much, but as expected for this track, there will be rain involved. This time scripted from start to finish. The racing hard slicks are available for this race, but they will not see any use. Even the qualifying is wet enough to need intermediates, and during the race it will never dry enough to make slicks even remotely viable. There is no mandatory pit stop for this race. And since the track will not dry out enough for the intermediates or full wets to wear enough to warrant replacing them, the best option is to choose a compound that works for the entire length without a pit stop. In the practice mode that was available for this round, it seemed like the full wets were the faster and safer choice. However, that practice is with only one car on the track. When 16 cars drive around, the track will dry out a lot more, thus making intermediates the faster choice. However, these cars are extremely difficult to control, especially in the rain. They have a shit ton of power and tend to spin out at the slightest application of the throttle. So it can also be viable to go for the full wet tires for the moments where the track gets truly soaked. That could give a little more grip, preventing spins. Regardless of the chosen strategy, the most important thing for this race is not to spin out. It's easy to make a mistake, but getting back on track will be quite a challenge as well. With how difficult these cars are to control and easy to spin, the expectation is that if you can remain incident-free, that alone might get you a top 5 finish. So better safe than sorry. But then again, where is the fun in that? Do you want to be safe or do you want to go fast?
Now, is there anyone out there who wants to go fast? Anybody?
I want to go fast.
Well then, that settles it. Intermediates all the way. Now, I mentioned we have a sort of special livery, so let's take a look at that before we move on. And there she is. Of course, still with the Team Maledict branding like we are used to, but also with some Matt Armstrong brands being represented. On the front, we can see Valvoline and Car Vertical, for example, and a prominent spot for the HWBT logo on the top. And we can't forget alloy sponsor Wheelmania or Bob from the machine shop either. There are some more to discover, but we'll leave that up to you as you are watching all the races of the Nations Cup. The plan is to have this theme extended for all the cars to be used in the Cup. Well then, let's move on to the race now. First, the qualifying session. As stated, it is slightly wet, even though there is a dry line visibly formed on track. Fair warning, these cars are very loud. And sadly, it doesn't properly translate to a 2D screen. How awesomely immersive driving these open-wheel cars in VR actually is. very decent result. A fourth place on the grid should hopefully mean less chance to get caught up in midfield shenanigans, provided there are no incidents in the first lap. Happy days. Now let's see if we find some awesome F1 liveries like we expected. An instant classic, the Benetton from 1996. A 1986 Porsche. A 2001 Jordan. Hey, Matt Armstrong.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Of course, a modern Red Bull, a 1984 McLaren. Boring default. Boring. Nigel Mansell's 1992 Williams. Boring. The 2010 Red Bull. The 80s Black and Golden Lotus. Boring. More boring. And another default.
Boring.
And finally, a 2001 BMW Williams. Not a bad lineup, all things considered. Now let's look at some racing. Notice Dordonoff is setting the traction control to level 2 here, as that is definitely helping a lot to keep all the horses for this car in check. Some slight contact due to very different lines from both drivers, but luckily, nothing too serious.
Then it was finally ready to hear the full exhaust.
That is insane.
Yes, these cars are extremely loud as well. so good. No weird incidents in the first lap, and the pace seems good enough to keep up with the top three. That was quite wide from the Spaniard in front. That might be a penalty.
Well, there you had it.
Some lag made it appear as if the Spaniard was slowing down and let Dordonov past. But while we are here, the move might as well be completed. Up into third, at least. Let's see if there is opportunity to get closer to the front. The Spaniard was getting close, but still had to serve his penalty. For now, there is some breathing room to the back.
Fast as fuck, boy!
Being able to set the fastest lap should mean the two drivers in front are being reeled in. He is getting close enough to be able to touch them in corners. There is more to be gained here. Rain is slightly picking up and everyone's pace is dropping. By the start of next lap, it's going to be needed to avoid the racing line for maximum grip. A slight bump draft because it was a tricky part to overtake, but with some slipstream, the opportunity is here. A big tank slapper for the German in first place. That should help close the gap. Ah, shucks, tried too hard to make the outside line stick there and drifted wide. The racing line is really starting to get slippery, and the Swiss driver in front is the first to fall prey to it, conceding his spot to Dordenhoff. Let's take a quick look at the replay. And he is not the only one struggling. Let's take a look behind as well. So much happened there. Let's take a closer look at the white car that went for a meeting with Barry R.
Rage quit.
Yep, it's obvious the rain is increasing and people are struggling with the loss of grip. It is now very important to keep the nose pointed in the right direction, and places might automatically be awarded. Case in point, the leader went off, and Dordenhoff moves up to second. We can clearly see the difference in lines here compared to the Spaniard in front, who is still using the racing line and having a harder time controlling his car. And would you look at that? There was the inevitable mistake from the Spaniard by keeping too much to the racing line. Up to first he goes. There's a bit of a gap now to the car behind, and nothing will happen for a little while. Let's take a closer look at how the rest of the field is holding up in the rain. First, a quick replay of what happened to the race leader. Well, at least he learned not to take that inside curb anymore, I reckon. 3 laps later, and we are back with the German heading to Eau Rouge.
Wait till you see the... no.
Well, let's assume he really learned his lesson now. He's lucky third place is too far away to profit from the mistake. 1 lap later, and we are back. You have got to be kidding me.
Look at this dude. No.
This time both second and third place were close, and he lost 2 positions. But the German is not the only one struggling here. The Swiss driver in second place makes a tiny mistake, and the Spaniard can immediately pass him. It's only a small mistake, but make enough of those and you will fall back. 2 laps later, and he gets another moment in a to us familiar place. And here comes the German to claim back a position. But the story for the German is not concluded yet, and we tune back in at the end of the lap. He lost the position again, but he is not about to give up just yet. He is determined to regain that podium position. Unbelievable! He managed to stay on track and even gain a position this time. Finally, some good fortune for the German. By now we have already arrived at lap 14, and as we can see, Dornhoff is still leading. Let's switch over to see what is going on. We join back in for the final lap. Second place is not visible in the mirrors, and all he has to do is bring the car home for a win. Let's ride along for this final stretch of the race. And there it was, happy days. A win in the bag in a very difficult race. In the first practice sessions, he could barely drive more than a lap without spinning off track somewhere. But in the end, all the practice and experience helped him drive a very consistent race with only a few minor mistakes. And, as expected, just being able to drive this race without spinning off will help tremendously in getting a good result. Having some good pace to boot really helps as well, of course. And that pace was even complimented on by the Spaniard in second place in the post-race chat. Always nice to get a compliment from a fellow driver. Thanks, Ibrahima. Much appreciated. This first place gave a whopping 174 points, which is a new personal best. It was also the first win since being promoted to the GT1 League. That is an awesome start for this Nations Cup. On to the next one.